Okay, we're going to learn about legal monopolies or natural monopolies. Some people also refer to them as regional monopolies. One of the reasons for these regional or national monopolies to form is the limited nature of the size of the market. So what we are saying is the size of the market is limited. Let me put this down. What that means is, if we have competition in that market, it will only result in actually prices going up for the customer. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a bad thing, isn't it? So what we are doing is we are allowing these natural monopolies. So some of the markets where these natural monopolies exist in the UK is water companies. What you then have is, apart from water companies, you can talk about National Grid that distributes our electricity and gas. You could talk about a lawn shop in a distant village. Okay, and there is actually, I've got an article somewhere about a shop in one of the island villages up in Scotland, and then how they leave the food, and people actually go over there, pick up the food. It's not manned. Why? Because they can't afford the expense of manning. So what they do is they have to be honest, and whatever food they pick up over there, they actually leave the money in the, I think it's a box or something they have over there. So whatever they're consuming. So there you go. Talk about a natural monopoly. Right. Anyways, let's see how they work. So what we'll do is we'll draw our y-axis, our x-axis, 0, quantity. Let's say if I was picking up water companies, I could put down over here gallons of water. And on my y-axis, I have the price or the cost. Right? Now, as I said, because the size of the market is limited, and for these companies to benefit the consumer, they have to produce huge quantities. So, the AR curve, horizontal, right along, AR curve, then you've got your marginal revenue. Okay. And we have the LRAC curve, long run average cost, downward sloping. It's probably a bit more horizontal than I would like it to be. Go a bit more downward sloping. And then you've got the long run marginal cost curve, AR. Right. Now, if the firm was profit maximizing, okay, if the firm was profit maximizing, let me put down over here, for a traditional firm to profit maximize, MC is equal to, where do they produce? Where MC is equal to? AR? No. MR, marginal revenue. Because at that point, you're not making any more profit of the last unit you're selling. So, MC equals MR. Yeah. Alright? So, this firm should have produced at this point, where we would have, remember, profit is also pi. Yeah? They would have profit maximized. But no, we don't want them to do this, and that is why they're legal monopolies. They're allowed to operate in that fashion. But what we have is we have of what? Office of Water.
Yeah.
What they do is they regulate these natural monopolies. So before they go for any price rise or they want to exploit the consumer, they actually apply for a permission from the offer that this is the price. It has to be sanctioned from them. Right. Coming back to this, if they wanted to do revenue maximization, they would be producing where MR is equal to 0. But as we've said, we don't want them to revenue maximize either.
Yeah.
So what we do is we make them produce where marginal cost is equal to average revenue. So at this price and this quantity. Why? Because we need gallons of water to have our shower, to do all the morning, to look after gardens, for car wash. So what we've done is we're making them produce at the Q1 where LRMC is equal to average revenue. Why? Because their cost, marginal cost of producing that extra output is equal to what people are willing to pay. So they are at this point allocatively efficient. Because we know for allocative efficiency, the price customers are willing to pay should equal to the marginal cost or the cost of production of last unit. Now, important point, are these companies making a profit or a loss at that point? To consider profit and loss, we look at average revenue and average cost. So at this point, if you look at Q1, it's a loss. Why? Because at this point, let me just move this a bit further. At this point, average cost is greater than average revenue, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for this dotted line, or this extra cost, or this loss, how do you think these firms can be compensated? Because I'm sure no private firm wants to incur a loss and go out of business. So what do you think is the strategy the government could use to encourage them to produce to be allocatively efficient? How can you incentivize these firms to produce at Q1? So what should we do about all this loss we're going to incur for producing that quantity Q1?
Increase the price.
Well done, but why? To increase the price at the C1 or P1? The government has two options. One, the government can give this entire rectangle as a subsidy.
Yeah.
But then are these subsidies fair? No, because people who are not consuming this water, but their taxes might be going towards that subsidy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not being put to best use, their taxes. So the best way of being fair is people who are actually going to consume that water also subsidize these costs within the pricing. So to be fair, the burden of this subsidy, to be fair, the burden of the subsidy should be added in the final price of the consumer. Of that good. So things to remember for natural monopolies to exist is A, the size of the market is limited.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't have a huge population. Our population as compared to that of America, India is quite small. So the size of the market is limited. The objective is to produce in huge quantity of goods. Right? Why? Because people need them. It's like a need. Water is a necessity.
Yeah.
All right? At lower prices. All right? We've got a regulator to make sure that the firm does not exploit the market conditions. So we've got a regulator to look after it. The subsidy or the loss which the firm is going to incur to become allocatively efficient to produce that huge quantity can be paid by the government from taxes that's collected from all people, but then that is not representative. That's not fair. Why? Because people who may not be consuming all that water are actually subsidizing for someone else's welfare. So what then we do is, to be fair, the burden of the subsidy should be added in the final price of the consumer of that good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you.